Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the most intense, raw, and inspiring stories of modern self-mastery. Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. If you've ever felt like life has beaten you down, if you've struggled, failed, or doubted yourself, this story will show you what's possible when you take control of your mind. David Goggins isn't your average motivational speaker. He's a man who transformed himself from an overweight, depressed, broken individual into a Navy SEAL, ultra-marathon runner, and one of the toughest endurance athletes on the planet. But this book isn't just about fitness. It's about mental toughness, accountability, and redefining the limits of what's possible. Goggins teaches that life is a constant battle against the comfort zone, and the only way to win is to master your mind and embrace suffering as a path to growth. Let's break down the key lessons and challenges from Can't Hurt Me, each one designed to help you callous your mind, push past excuses, and take complete control of your life. Chapter 1. The Childhood of Pain, the Uncommon Beginning. David Goggins' story begins not with triumph, but with trauma, a childhood steeped in pain, fear, and survival. Growing up in Buffalo, New York, David lived under the control of his father, Toughness Goggins, a man whose charm in public hid the terror he inflicted at home. Toughness owned a skating rink, and from the outside, it looked like the Goggins family was living the American dream. But behind closed doors, there were nightly beatings, endless control, and emotional torment. David, his brother Toughness Jr., and his mother Jackie endured unspeakable abuse, and for young David, life felt like a never-ending war zone. The sound of his father's footsteps was enough to fill him with dread. School was no escape either. He faced relentless racism, bullying, and academic struggles. He stuttered when he spoke, doubted his worth, and grew up believing that the world was against him. But here's what makes Goggins' story remarkable. He never tells it to gain sympathy. He doesn't romanticize his suffering or use it as an excuse for weakness. Instead, he tells it as a lesson, to prove that pain can either define you or refine you. He believes that pain, when faced directly, can become your greatest teacher. While most people run from discomfort, Goggins learned to confront it, study it, and eventually use it as fuel. He realized that the hardships he endured as a child gave him an early education in endurance, discipline, and mental strength, lessons that would one day save his life. Still, the road to that realization wasn't easy. After his mother finally escaped the abuse, Goggins carried invisible wounds, anxiety, insecurity, and anger. He struggled through school, often feeling lost and incapable. But somewhere deep inside, he carried a flicker of belief that maybe, just maybe, he could become more than his circumstances. That flicker became the foundation of his transformation. Goggins eventually understood that no one was coming to save him. Not his father, not society, not luck. If he wanted a different life, he would have to build it from the ground up. That's where one of his core philosophies was born. You are responsible for your own change, no matter where you start. This brutal honesty became the turning point of his life. Goggins refused to see himself as a victim. Instead, he saw himself as a project, unfinished, imperfect, but capable of growth. And he challenges all of us to do the same. Every person has pain, trauma, or disadvantage in their past. But what separates the strong from the broken is what they decide to do with that pain. Will you let it crush you? Or will you use it to callous your mind and sharpen your purpose? For Goggins, pain was never the end, it was the beginning. Challenge number 1. Face your truth. Goggins invites you to do something simple, yet incredibly hard. Write down every limitation, every insecurity, every excuse that's been holding you back. Be brutally honest, no sugarcoating, no blame shifting. This is not an exercise in self-pity. It's a declaration of accountability. When you face your truth, you take your power back. You stop pointing fingers and start building yourself piece by piece. So think about it. What's the story you've been telling yourself about why you can't succeed? I wasn't born talented. I don't have enough time. My past is too painful. These stories might sound true, but they're chains you've built yourself. Goggins learned to break those chains one honest conversation at a time with himself. In the mirror, in the silence of his pain. His story proves that your beginnings don't define you. Your response to them does. It's time to stop running from your past and start rewriting your story, one truth at a time. Chapter 2. The Accountability Mirror. Be brutally honest. When David Goggins hit his late teens, his life had become a spiral of comfort, excuses, and denial. After escaping his abusive home, he should have felt free, but instead, he found himself drifting. He was overweight, aimless, and living in a fog of fast food, television, and self-pity. Every day looked the same. Wake up tired, eat junk, lie to himself about doing better tomorrow, and fall asleep angry. He had dreams of joining the military, of doing something extraordinary, but dreams don't mean anything when you're lying to yourself, and Goggins was an expert at that. He would tell himself he was working hard while doing the bare minimum. He'd blame the system, his past, or bad luck. Until one night, everything changed. One evening, after seeing an ad for Navy SEALs on TV, Goggins felt a spark, but when he looked at himself, that spark turned to shame. He weighed nearly 300 pounds, could barely run a block, and realized he was living a lie. He wasn't the man he wanted to be. He was the man who made excuses. He stood in front of his bathroom mirror, stared at his reflection, and saw the truth. The face looking back wasn't that of a victim. It was of someone who had given up. In that moment, Goggins made a decision that would change everything. He stopped running from himself. He faced his reflection and said the words most people are too afraid to say, "You're not good enough yet." That mirror became his first and most powerful tool. He called it the accountability mirror, a daily confrontation with the truth. Every morning and every night, he would look into that mirror and talk to himself, brutally, honestly, directly. No lies. No excuses. Just raw self-assessment. He wrote his goals on sticky notes and plastered them around the mirror. Lose weight. Study for the ASVAB. Run 10 miles. Be tougher. These weren't vague dreams. They were commands. Each note was a small promise to the man staring back at him. And every time he fulfilled one, he added another. The accountability mirror became both his coach and his conscience. This ritual wasn't about tearing himself down. It was about stripping away the illusion that he was fine just as he was. Goggins says that most people are addicted to the soft life, the easy path where you never have to confront your flaws. But comfort kills growth. When you refuse to be honest about your weaknesses, you guarantee that they will own you forever. Goggins learned that self-honesty is the foundation of self-mastery. Until you can admit who you really are, you can't build who you want to become. He realized that being uncomfortable with the truth is far less painful than living a lie. Challenge number 2. The accountability mirror. Goggins challenges you to do exactly what he did. Stand in front of the mirror and face yourself. No filters, no fake positivity. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding? Where am I lying to myself? Write your answers down, every insecurity, every excuse, every habit that's holding you back, and turn each into an action step. I'm lazy becomes, I'll wake up an hour earlier. I'm scared becomes, I'll start anyway. The mirror becomes a daily check-in, a sacred space where you stop negotiating with your potential and start honoring it. So think about it. What would your accountability mirror say if it could talk? Would it call you disciplined or distracted? Focused or comfortable? The truth is hard to face, but once you confront it, you free yourself from denial. Goggins transformed that mirror from a symbol of self-loathing into a weapon of personal transformation. It reminded him daily that the gap between who you are and who you want to be can only be closed through radical honesty and relentless action. You can't lie your way to greatness. You have to look yourself in the eye, own your flaws, and build from there. Brick by brick, truth by truth. Chapter 3. The Calloused Mind. The Power of Repetition and Pain. There's a powerful image that David Goggins uses to explain this chapter. He talks about calluses. When you lift weights or work with your hands long enough, your skin forms thick, hardened patches, calluses. They protect you from pain. They're a sign that you've adapted to the stress. Goggins realized that the same concept applies to your mind. When you repeatedly face discomfort, your mind builds calluses, a layer of toughness that shields you from fear, doubt, and fatigue. But here's the key. Those mental calluses only form when you stop avoiding pain and start embracing it. Early in his Navy SEAL training, Goggins learned what true pain felt like. The freezing cold ocean, the sleepless nights, the exhaustion, the humiliation. It broke most people. But Goggins didn't want to be like most people. He realized that pain wasn't his enemy, comfort was. Every time his body screamed, "Quit," he saw an opportunity to grow stronger. Every repetition of discomfort was like another layer of armor forming around his mind. And that's how he coined the phrase, "Callous your mind." He didn't want an easy life. He wanted a mind so strong that nothing, not failure, not doubt, could control him. He often says, "We live in a world that's too soft," and he's right. We're surrounded by convenience, instant food, instant entertainment, instant gratification. But ease is a trap. It convinces you that comfort is the goal, when in reality, comfort is the enemy of growth. The more you seek comfort, the weaker your mind becomes. The less you challenge yourself, the more fragile your spirit grows. Goggins flipped that idea upside down. He believed that every painful experience was a test, a chance to expand his limits. Whether it was running 100 miles on broken legs, or enduring Hell Week multiple times, he saw suffering as the ultimate classroom. But building a calloused mind doesn't happen overnight. It's about consistency. Goggins calls it the daily grind of doing the things you hate to do, but doing them like you love it. That's where the transformation happens. You don't need extreme conditions to toughen your mind. You just need commitment. Wake up earlier. Run when it's raining. Study when you're tired. Face rejection without giving up. Each time you choose discomfort over avoidance, you're building calluses, invisible layers of strength that will protect you when life throws its hardest punches. And it will. Challenge number 3. Do something that sucks, every day. Goggins challenges you to deliberately step into discomfort. Pick one thing that makes you nervous, bored, or uncomfortable, and do it daily. It could be running a mile, taking a cold shower, making that hard phone call, or tackling a project you've been procrastinating on. The goal isn't to enjoy it. So think about it. When was the last time you did something that truly challenged you? Most people avoid pain and then wonder why their lives feel small. The truth is, every ounce of growth you crave is hidden behind the discomfort you're avoiding. The calloused mind is not about being emotionless. It's about being unbreakable. It's about training yourself to stay calm when the world gets chaotic, to keep going when others give up. Pain will visit you no matter what, but if you build a calloused mind, you'll be ready when it knocks. Chapter 4. Taking Souls. Outworking the competition and reversing the power dynamic. If there's one phrase that captures the fire inside David Goggins, it's this: taking souls. It sounds intense, and it is, but not in the way you might think. This isn't about hurting anyone or proving dominance for the sake of ego. It's about flipping the power dynamic when life or people try to break you. It's about using effort, sheer, undeniable effort, to take control of situations that seem impossible. Goggins first discovered this concept during Navy SEAL training, one of the toughest programs on Earth. When everyone else was falling apart, shivering in the freezing surf, ready to quit, he decided to make a game out of it. Instead of giving in to misery, he said to himself, "I'm going to take their souls." What did that mean? It meant that while instructors were trying to break him, he would break their expectations instead. He'd smile in the cold, volunteer for extra rounds, and push himself when everyone else was collapsing. The instructors didn't know what to do with that energy. It threw them off balance. That's what taking souls is all about. It's when you perform so far beyond what anyone expects that you flip the script. You show them, and yourself, that you're not someone who can be broken. You become the one who defines the terms. And it's not just about the military. This concept applies to life, business, relationships, everywhere. Maybe you have a boss who doubts you, or competitors waiting for you to fail. Instead of arguing or resenting them, take their souls. Outwork them. Outlast them. Let your actions speak louder than any excuse ever could. Goggins says, when you're in the darkest place, that's when you find out who you are. Most people crumble under pressure, but if you decide to rise in those moments, if you can stay composed, focused, and relentless, you don't just survive the storm. You become the storm. The beauty of taking souls is that it's not about revenge. It's about transformation. Every time someone doubts you, disrespects you, or underestimates you, you're handed free energy. You can either waste it by being bitter, or you can channel it into drive. That's what Goggins mastered. He used the negativity of others as jet fuel. Every insult, every rejection, every obstacle, it all became motivation. The harder things got, the more determined he became to prove that he couldn't be stopped. That mindset not only carried him through Hell Week, but through ultramarathons, pull-up world records, and every impossible task he ever faced. Challenge number 4. Who's watching you quit? Goggins challenges you to look at your toughest environment, your job, your training, your personal struggles, and identify the moments when you want to give up. Then ask yourself, who's watching me right now? Who would be inspired if I kept going? Maybe it's your team, your kids, your younger self. When you feel like quitting, use that thought to fuel you. Outperform not for applause, but for the satisfaction of knowing you turned pain into power. So think about it. What if every challenge you faced became a chance to take souls? What if every hardship was an invitation to rise higher than anyone thought possible? That's the Goggins mindset. Life will test you, mock you, and try to grind you down. But when you stand tall, smile through the struggle, and keep going anyway, you take control of the story. You don't just take souls. You take ownership of your destiny. Chapter 5. The 40% Rule. You're far from done when you think you are. Imagine you're running your hardest mile. Your lungs burn, your legs scream, and your mind begs you to stop. That voice inside says, you're done. You can't go any further. But here's the truth, you're nowhere near done. According to David Goggins, when your mind tells you you've reached your limit, you're only about 40% finished. That means there's still 60% more left in the tank, waiting behind pain, fear, and doubt. That's the 40% rule, one of Goggins' most powerful principles, and one that can completely change how you see yourself and your potential. Goggins discovered this rule through sheer suffering. During SEAL training, he watched strong men, physically gifted, confident, tough, collapse under pressure. Their bodies could have kept going, but their minds quit first. He noticed that quitting didn't come from physical exhaustion. It came from the brain's natural desire to protect you from discomfort. Your mind is wired for survival, not greatness. It lies to you to keep you safe, whispering that you're at your limit when in truth, you've barely scratched your potential. Goggins realized that to unlock that remaining 60%, you have to override that mental governor, the voice that says, stop. You have to prove to yourself that you can keep going when everything hurts. The first time he tested this theory was during one of his earliest ultramarathons. He had never trained for one, yet he signed up for a 100-mile race. Around mile 70, his body was breaking down. His legs were bleeding. His feet were destroyed, and he had every reason to quit. But instead of stopping, he dug into that hidden reserve. He thought back to all the times in his life he had overcome pain, the abuse, the failures, the nights of doubt, and told himself, "I've been here before. I'm not done yet." And somehow, step by step, mile by mile, he finished. That race became the moment he proved that the 40% rule wasn't just theory, it was real. What's powerful about this mindset is that it doesn't just apply to endurance athletes. It applies to all of us. Whether you're building a business, studying for exams, raising a family, or chasing personal growth, you will hit moments when you feel done. That's when you must remember, that feeling is a lie. You've got more to give. The 40% rule teaches you that pain is not a sign to stop. It's a signal that you're entering the zone where growth begins. When you push beyond that first wall of resistance, you don't just build stamina, you build identity. You start to see yourself as someone who doesn't quit, and that belief changes everything. Challenge number 5. Go beyond your 40%. Goggins challenges you to find your limit, and then go 5 or 10% past it. If you normally run 3 miles, do 3.3. If you study for an hour, go for 70 minutes. If you're tempted to give up on a tough conversation, stay in it a little longer. That small push rewires your brain to stop accepting your comfort zone as your ceiling. Each time you do this, your 40% becomes 50%, then 60%, and before long, you're living in a state most people never experience, the state of mastery over your own mind. So ask yourself right now, where have you been quitting at 40%? What dream, project, or habit have you abandoned because it got uncomfortable? The next time you feel that voice telling you, you're done, smile and say, "We're just getting started." That's what separates the average from the unstoppable. The body can only go where the mind allows it. And once you understand that, you'll realize you've been living far below your potential. The 40% rule isn't about becoming superhuman. It's about finally meeting the version of yourself that's been buried under comfort, fear, and self-doubt. Chapter 6. The Cookie Jar. Fuel from your past victories. We all have moments when the fight feels endless, when life keeps hitting, and there's nothing left to give. David Goggins faced that moment again and again, in SEAL training, in ultramarathons, in life itself. There were times when his mind screamed, "You can't do this anymore." But instead of quitting, he reached into something invisible, a mental jar he calls the cookie jar. It's a simple idea with profound power. When you're at your lowest, remember every hardship you've already overcome, every victory you've already earned, every mountain you've already climbed. Each one is a cookie, a piece of evidence that you've survived before, and that you can survive again. Goggins first came up with this during one of his ultramarathons, when his body was collapsing and his spirit was breaking. He was dehydrated, bleeding, and on the edge of blacking out. But then he started thinking about his abusive childhood, the nights he spent terrified, the bullying, the racism, the failures, and how he survived all of it. He remembered making it through Hell Week, earning his SEAL Trident, and pushing through every test that once seemed impossible. Each memory became a cookie he could grab from the jar and use as fuel. Suddenly, he wasn't just a man in pain, he was a warrior with proof. Proof that he could endure more than most people even imagined. The cookie jar is about perspective. When life feels impossible, your mind zooms in on the pain, the exhaustion, the fear, the doubt. You forget how powerful you actually are. But when you consciously remind yourself of your past wins, the times you stayed strong, the moments you proved yourself wrong, you flip the narrative. You stop thinking, "I can't do this," and start thinking, "I've done harder things than this." That's not arrogance. That's evidence. Your cookie jar is proof that you're capable, resilient, and tougher than you think. What's beautiful about this principle is that it works for anyone. You don't have to be a Navy SEAL or an endurance athlete. Maybe your cookies are times you got through heartbreak, overcame illness, graduated despite the odds, started over after failure, or simply kept showing up when it hurt. Every one of those moments belongs in your cookie jar. Because one day, when life corners you again, when the bills pile up, or you feel stuck, or your confidence shatters, those memories will be the difference between quitting and continuing. Goggins says, "The cookie jar reminds you who you are when you've forgotten." Challenge number 6. Build your cookie jar. Take time today to write down your victories, every challenge you've conquered. Big or small, be detailed. List the times you pushed through fear, pain, or doubt. Keep that list somewhere visible, on your phone, your desk, or your wall. Then, when you're struggling, reach for it, read it, remember it. Let it remind you that you've already done hard things before, and that this, whatever you're facing now, is just another test you're fully capable of passing. So think about it. What's in your cookie jar? What proof do you already have that you're built for resilience? Life will never stop testing you, but when you collect your victories, you start seeing yourself not as someone who might make it, but as someone who always does. Goggins learned that greatness doesn't come from motivation. It comes from memory, the memory of who you've been and what you've survived. When you reach into that cookie jar, you're not looking back, you're fueling forward. Chapter 7. The Governor, Breaking Through the Limits of the Mind. Have you ever wondered why, when you're exhausted, your body feels completely done? But somehow, if something serious happens, like danger or adrenaline, you find extra strength? That's not magic. That's your mind's governor, the built-in limiter that stops you long before you reach your actual potential. David Goggins compares it to the governor in a car engine. Manufacturers install a governor to prevent the car from going faster than a certain speed. It's there for safety, but it also keeps the car from hitting its true limits. Your mind works the same way. It's designed to keep you comfortable, to prevent pain, to stop you before you burn out. The problem? That same safety mechanism keeps you from greatness. Goggins learned this truth the hard way, through suffering. During SEAL training, during 100-mile races, during moments when every fiber of his being screamed for him to stop, he discovered that there was always more left in the tank. He realized that the governor inside the mind is activated by fear, fear of pain, failure, and the unknown. The mind starts whispering, "You've gone far enough. You're going to get hurt. You're not built for this." But those are lies. Protective lies that keep you small. When you recognize the governor for what it is, a mental speed limit, you can choose to push past it, safely but relentlessly, unlocking levels of performance and resilience you never thought possible. This doesn't mean ignoring your body or pushing recklessly. It means understanding the difference between actual limits and imagined limits. Goggins says most people never come close to their real capacity because they quit at the first sign of discomfort. But discomfort isn't danger, it's a signal that you're about to grow. When you hit that wall of pain and doubt, that's your governor kicking in. The challenge is to notice it and keep going a little further. That's where mental toughness is born. The first time you override that mental governor, it's terrifying. The second time, it's still hard. But over time, your mind learns that pain isn't permanent and your capacity expands. Goggins used this concept to transform his life. He stopped listening to the voice that told him, "You're not smart enough. You're not tough enough. You're done." Instead, he talked back. He became his own coach, telling himself, "We've got more." That's the secret. You can't silence the governor completely. It's part of your wiring, but you can turn down its volume. Every time you push through doubt, fear, and exhaustion, you weaken the governor's grip. Over time, what once felt impossible becomes your new baseline. You start operating at a higher level, physically, mentally, emotionally. Challenge number 7. Identify your governor. Goggins challenges you to look at your life and find where you've been hitting the brakes. Is it in your fitness, your job, your relationships, your dreams? Ask yourself, Where do I always stop when things get uncomfortable? Then make a plan to push a little further next time. Run an extra half mile. Speak up in that meeting. Wake up earlier. Face the conversation you've been avoiding. Each time you override the governor, you're training your mind to trust your strength instead of your fear. So think about it. What would your life look like if you stopped letting that internal governor decide your limits? If you pushed past the first wave of discomfort, pain, or fear, how much more could you do? The truth is, you have no idea what your potential really is until you challenge it. Goggins' life is proof. The mind's governor doesn't protect you. It imprisons you. But once you learn to push past it, even a little, you'll realize something powerful. Your limits aren't real. They're just suggestions from a mind that doesn't yet know how strong you truly are. Chapter 8. Talent Not Required. How to Outwork Genetics, Luck, and Natural Ability. David Goggins' story is a constant reminder that talent alone won't carry you to greatness. In fact, he wasn't born with elite genetics, natural athleticism, or a privileged background. He came from trauma, fear, and disadvantage. But he discovered something far more powerful than talent: grit, relentless effort, and consistency. Goggins teaches that the gap between you and someone who seems naturally gifted isn't about innate ability. It's about who's willing to put in the work when no one is watching. This is the principle of outworking everyone else, and it's one of the core reasons he achieved what most would consider impossible. He explains that society glorifies talent, but talent without effort is worthless. Goggins had to overcome every disadvantage stacked against him: learning struggles, obesity, abuse, racism, and self-doubt. He had to teach himself discipline, endurance, and resilience. Each time he felt weak or unmotivated, he forced himself to act anyway. While others rested, he pushed further. While others gave up, he refused to quit. And that, more than any natural ability, is what created extraordinary results. It's a simple, brutal truth. Effort beats talent when talent refuses to work. This principle also highlights the importance of consistency over inspiration. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the tide. Talent without effort relies on motivation, which is unreliable. Goggins relies on habit, on ritual, on repetition. What he calls doing the work whether you feel like it or not. He runs miles when he doesn't feel like running. He studies when his body screams for rest. He does the uncomfortable every single day. Talent gives you a head start. Effort carries you to the finish line. Challenge number 8. Outwork everyone. Goggins challenges you to take stock of your life. Where have you relied on talent, luck, or circumstance? Where have you used excuses instead of effort? Now make a plan to outwork the people around you, even if they're more naturally gifted. Work harder, train longer, study more, prepare better. Push past discomfort, consistently, relentlessly. Effort is the great equalizer, the force that allows ordinary people to achieve extraordinary things. The beauty of this principle is its universality. You don't need a perfect body, perfect genes, or perfect conditions to succeed. You need discipline, resilience, and refusal to quit. Goggins proves that anyone willing to embrace discomfort and push past excuses can achieve more than they ever imagined. Your effort becomes your identity, and your identity defines your destiny. So think about it. Are you waiting for a natural advantage that may never come? Or are you willing to put in the work that will give you control over your life, no matter your starting point? Goggins' life shows that talent is optional, but effort is mandatory. When you outwork everyone else, when you persist while others quit, you don't just close the gap, you create results that seem impossible to anyone who hasn't chosen the same path. Chapter 9. The Empowerment of Suffering. You Can't Hurt Me. At the heart of Can't Hurt Me is a simple yet life-changing truth. Suffering is inevitable, but how you respond defines your life. David Goggins didn't choose abuse, poverty, racism, or failure. None of us do. But he chose how to react. He refused to let circumstances dictate his identity, his purpose, or his potential. He embraced pain as a tool, a teacher, and a compass guiding him toward growth. That decision, to see suffering as a catalyst rather than a cage, is the cornerstone of his philosophy. You can't hurt me. Suffering, Goggins explains, is a universal equalizer. Everyone experiences it. The difference is in perception. Most people run from discomfort, hide from pain, or numb themselves with distractions. Goggins ran toward it. Every mile, every brutal workout, every sleepless night was an act of confrontation. He sought the discomfort that would expand his limits, push him past his fears, and harden his resolve. Pain became not just a test of endurance, but a daily opportunity to grow stronger mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. But this principle isn't just about physical endurance. It's about taking ownership of your life in every domain. Life will challenge you with heartbreak, failure, rejection, illness, and setbacks, and often all at once. Most people see suffering as punishment. Goggins sees it as empowerment. Each struggle, each moment that tempts you to quit, is a chance to prove something to yourself, that you're tougher than you believed, that you can endure more than you imagined, and that your limits are self-imposed, not absolute. Challenge number 9. Build a calloused soul. Goggins invites you to deliberately seek challenges, small and large, that force you out of comfort. Don't avoid the hard things. Embrace them. Start small. Take cold showers, wake up early, tackle a project you've been procrastinating on. Push your body and mind in ways that are uncomfortable but achievable. Over time, those acts of discipline and confrontation will callous your soul, preparing you to withstand anything life throws at you. Each hardship becomes fuel for the next. Each victory against discomfort builds resilience. The final lesson is profound. When you embrace suffering, when you refuse to quit despite fear, exhaustion, or doubt, you unlock the ultimate freedom. You realize that no circumstance, no person, no challenge can truly hurt you unless you allow it to. Your mind becomes unbreakable, your spirit unstoppable, and your potential limitless. Goggins' mantra, "Can't hurt me," isn't arrogance, it's armor. It's the conscious choice to take control of your mind, your reactions, and ultimately, your life. So think about it. How would your life change if you stopped seeing suffering as the enemy and started seeing it as a tool? Every pain, every setback, every challenge becomes a ladder to climb higher, not a chain to hold you down. Goggins' life proves that the only real limitations are the ones you accept. You can't hurt the person who has mastered their mind, and that person is you, if you choose it. Outro, taking control. You can't hurt me. And there you have it, the life-changing lessons from Can't Hurt Me. David Goggins. Journey isn't just about ultramarathons, SEAL training, or physical feats. It's about mastering your mind, embracing pain, and refusing to be limited by your past, your circumstances, or even your own self-doubt. From the horrors of his childhood to the toughest challenges he deliberately sought out, Goggins shows us that suffering is not the enemy. It's the gateway to growth, resilience, and personal greatness. Think about it for a moment. Which challenge in your life have you been avoiding? Which limit have you accepted as fact? Each chapter we explored, the childhood of pain, the accountability mirror, the calloused mind, taking souls, the 40% rule, the cookie jar, the governor, talent not required, and finally, embracing suffering, is an invitation to take ownership. Each challenge is a tool to forge a stronger mind, a tougher spirit, and an unstoppable version of yourself. Start small, start now. Stand in front of your mirror and face your truth. Take one action that scares you. Step into discomfort. Remember your victories. Push past the 40% mark. Outwork the competition. Collect your cookies. Break your mental governor. Every choice compounds. Every day you refuse to quit builds momentum. And over time, those small steps become a life that's unshakable. If Goggins teaches us anything, it's this. You control your story. No one else does. Your limits are self-imposed. Your victories are waiting in the moments you decide to refuse the easy path and embrace the hard one. You can't be hurt unless you allow it, and now, the choice is yours. Before you go, I want to invite you to keep this momentum going. If you found value in this audiobook, hit subscribe, like, and share it with friends or anyone who needs a push to live stronger. Comment below with your favorite challenge or lesson from Goggins' story. Let us know which one you'll start applying today. And don't stop here. Explore more audiobooks on our channel, packed with life-changing principles, inspiring stories, and practical strategies to level up your life. Remember, greatness isn't a gift. It's forged through discipline, resilience, and the relentless refusal to quit. You've got this. Now go out and prove it.